Oh, the double click. Good times. Oh, okay. I'm gonna give people a couple minutes before I get in here. But yeah, as the title should be evident, we are not talking about fish for the topic today. I need to vent a little because I feel this is vent worthy. But before we get into that, um, hope you guys, if you didn't watch it yet, I hope you get a chance sometime soon to watch kind of the walkthrough of brother-in-law James's aquascape and the planting we did there, and kind of what the plans are long term with that tank. Um, haven't seen anyone in chat guess the fish yet, so that's kind of fun. Maybe everybody's just dropping out before we got to that part. I'm not sure, but yeah, a lot of people tend to like it, so that's nice. All the hardscape except for I basically just kind of nudged brother-in-law James with a few extra smaller stones to flesh out that front area. But it's all his work. So that's all him doing that. And then he picked almost all the plants. I think the only plant that I picked that's in there is the microsword, so the Liliopsis brasilensis. But everything else is stuff he picked, with the big focus being on the he wanted a lot of green plants and only a little bit of red. He didn't want like big, huge amounts of red, so that's why we have the couple red melon swords. I think I said red flame swords in the video because I'm a dum-dum, but that happens. And then the one lily, because he loves the lilies. So does my wife, so you're probably going to notice a pattern where any tank that is influenced by either of them will most likely have some kind of lily in it. Which I'm not going to complain because I love Nymphea species, so I like having them in there. Yeah, let's see. Let's talk the topic, and this is this be kind of a frustration ride, but hang with me. So, a month and a half ago, I was driving from like south of Seattle into Seattle. And I was driving through an area, a city called Federal Way. And out of nowhere, some rock hits my front windshield and causes this massive crack to form. Which, sucks because with my car, a Tesla, the glass is all specially for Tesla, and getting a hold of the glass is a real pain. But it took over a month to get the glass. Now, thankfully, right, my insurance covers all this. It's at no cost to me in the long run. I have to pay up front because Tesla doesn't do stuff through insurance. So I have to pay up front and then they reimburse me. But that was all taken care of nicely. So a little over a week ago now, about 2 weeks ago, actually, sorry. Let me get that correct. About 2 weeks ago, I take my car in to Tesla. And then they don't give out loaners unless you're in there for like 48 hours plus. So with it only being like a one-day job, I had to work with my insurance to get a rental car through Enterprise. Here's where the problems begin. So they give me a rental vehicle, and I go home, and I basically do nothing with the vehicle at all except drive home. And then the next day, when my car is ready, I call Enterprise ahead of time because I'm not sure how this branch does things and what their relationship is with Tesla, because Tesla's weird, right? Plain and simple. And I call and ask the local branch, okay, I'm going to pick up my vehicle. It's ready to go. Do I bring the car back to you and then you'll drive me to Tesla? Or do I take the car to Tesla and then you come pick it up? And they said, just drive to Tesla and call us when you're there. Okay. Outside in Aquatics, $5 the rental was a Kia. Actually, no, it was not. They, for some reason, they tried to match the type of vehicle I normally drive to what they gave me as a rental, and it was all set up through my insurance. So I ended up in a SUV. Yeah, whatever. So, okay. I drive to the Tesla repair shop, and while in the car, make sure I've got all my things, and then dial them up and start walking into Tesla. Go, hey, I'm here. My car is ready. I'm just waiting for my keys, but I can see my car and I can see that it's done. What do you want me to do? I have your rental here. It's parked. Do I just wait for you? Where do you want the keys, etc.? And I said, just hand the keys to the people at the service desk and make sure it's locked. And then you're good to go. We'll be there in 20 to 30 minutes to pick up the car. Okay. So I go to my service desk person. I get the keys to my car. I hand them the keys and I say, hey, Enterprise said to give you the keys. They said, okay, we'll take the keys for you and we'll give it to Enterprise when they come here. Okay. I get in my car. I go home. Disappointed on Billy's face when he said it was an SUV. Some SUVs are great. Some SUVs are not. Plain and simple. Sometimes it's fun when you drive an SUV-like vehicle that you get to rental. You get something that's different than what you drive so that you can, remind yourself what else is out there. I remember, like, ages and ages ago when I had my car in as my old vehicle for some service, and I was given a rental of like a Charger, a Dodge Charger, not the Challenger, but a Charger. And it was actually kind of fun as a rental to experience a completely different car from mine, right? Where this, like, the most the rental car did was remind me that, like, certain parts of software Tesla does better than anyone. And then the chair in the standard SUV that I had was significantly more comfortable than the chair in my car. Anyway, so I go home and I think nothing of it. I've turned everything in. I barely used any gas, so I was just going to leave it there and let them refill the gas. And they told me they would just charge a certain amount out of my down deposit. And I didn't care because it was going to be, in the end, like 3 gallons of gas it would cost me. And they told me what their price per gallon was. It was going to cost me like $12. I didn't care. A week later, I get a phone call from Enterprise. So, Mr. Pasco, we just wanted to check to see, do you know when your car is going to be done? We were working with your insurance to extend your rental service contract. Huh? Well, yeah, do you know when your car is done? Yeah, it was done last Friday. I'd picked up the rental on a Thursday, and my car was done Friday, and I called you twice on Friday. What are you talking about? Oh, well, okay. Do you remember the name of the person you left the keys with? Yes, this person. Okay, okay, we'll just go pick it up. Problem 1. Begin the rage, right? Then my insurance calls me. My insurance adjuster for my whole thing is like, hey, I just got a call from Enterprise. What's going on with your car? Is it done? Or I saw you submitted an invoice for what you paid. Was this just a quote invoice? Or is like, no, I picked up the car the next day. I dropped it off there. I explained everything to them, and they go, huh, okay, well, it sounds like they might be getting it, but I'll call Enterprise back. Like 2 hours later, Enterprise calls me again. So, hi, Mr. Pasco, we just want to let you know we're going to fix the billing on our side, and we're at Tesla. We're having trouble finding the car in the lot. And I tell them exactly where I parked it. They're like, yeah, no, it's not there. But we'll find it. I'm sure somebody just moved it somewhere to get it out of the way, so it wasn't in the service area, and we'll find it. And don't you worry, we're gonna fix all the billing. Okay, thanks. Last Friday, they call me again. It's the next day, and it's the person from the local branch. This is where the true anger comes in. Call me in there. Hi, Mr. Pasco. This is blah from Enterprise again. So the car was stolen. You go, what do you mean the car was stolen? How was the car stolen? It's a key fob car. If it's over a mile away from its fob, standard security protocols in every key fob car is it just shuts down. Yeah, well, it's been stolen, and we need you to call the police and report it stolen. Why am I reporting it stolen? It's your vehicle. Enterprise rental car. Well, you see, until we pick the vehicle up, it's still under a service contract under your name, and we can't report it stolen. That's our policy. I go, okay. Why isn't Tesla reporting it stolen? It was stolen from their property. I would understand if it was in my driveway and got stolen, that I would need to report it. But I called you guys twice that day, before I drove and after I was there. Why is this my responsibility? You see, just because of the way our policy works and with how things work with rental agreements, because it's in your name, you need to report it stolen. No. I called you twice. I did everything I should have done. I gave the keys to Tesla. It was stolen from their lot, which is a gated lot. They have gates to lock. Why is this my fault? Do you have video of it being stolen? Or is it just misplaced and someone can't find it on the lot and you're being lazy? No, we've looked at video at Tesla, and I've got to do this. It's policy, and then we send you a demand letter, and this, and I go, no. Have your boss or your area manager, whoever, call me. I'm not dealing with you anymore, and I'm going to call my attorney. I just hung up. Then I called my insurance. I explained everything that's going on in my insurance. My insurance was like, none of this makes any sense. None of this should be your fault. The second that Tesla accepts the keys from you, they are now acting on behalf of Enterprise, and it becomes their responsibility. If you can, please, I'm going to file a bunch of notes. I'm going to talk to my boss. I'm going to inform your claim adjuster because she's out on vacation today. Can you call Tesla and see if you can get the video? And then if you can, give us a ring back and we'll try and get all this figured out. So I call Tesla. I'm trying to talk to somebody who's behind the desk, and they're being super cagey with me. And I finally go, is the manager who reviewed the security footage with the person from Enterprise today in? Yes. Put that person on the phone. I'll go try and find him. Takes like 5 minutes, and finally I get the Mr. Brown. Talking to him, and he's informing me that that Tesla's policy is not to accept rental vehicles from their customers who are having repairs done at their shop. And that they're not liable for anything, and it is on me to work with the police, and that their loss and prevention team is currently conducting an investigation, and after their investigation has concluded, they will then contact the police and submit all of the information. I said, you had the video, right? Yes. Can you send me the video? No. Why not? Well, we normally don't submit these to anyone. It actually took me a lot of work with my security team to get a hold of it. It's like, but you have it now, yes? Yes. Why can't you give it to me? Because if it is on me, according to your policy, to report it to the police, and you have evidence, well, we'll submit it to the police. Why can't I see it? My insurance company is requesting it. Well, you know what? Put me in contact with your loss and prevention team. It's like, well, I can't do that. It's an internal team, and they don't talk to outside customers. Put me in connection with them, or put me in connection with your boss. I'm not going to just take this lying down. It's like, you don't understand. Are you familiar with the General Insurance Company? And he goes, yes. And I went, I spent 4 years suing them. And I won. Do not make me call my attorney. He is the most bloodthirsty shark you will meet in your life. And he will destroy you. And some tiny stolen car is going to be nothing compared to the cost of any legal stuff. Now, at this point, I'm full of shit, by the way. I'm totally bluffing. Not about the 4 years with the General. We did that. That was for my wife's accident that disabled her for life. Fun times. But I'm certainly not a place to call an attorney right now. Let's be honest here. I'm just trying to get what I need out of him. Sometimes I've found you can be a little forceful and make things happen. He basically tells me that he can only be their liaison and that he will try to get an update and see if he can get me the footage and then call me back. So I end my call with him, call my insurance, and let them know what's going on. And they kind of reaffirm that from their perspective, I've done everything correct. And they're going to start working with Enterprise and try and get this resolved. Another hour or so goes by, and the area manager for Enterprise, a very nice gentleman, I won't say his name, but he was very nice. He gets on the phone and kind of explains the following. This is going to get fun, folks. Enterprise had called Tesla trying to find the car, and at first, Tesla said they did not have any security footage because their cameras don't work. So they asked, well, did you receive the keys from the customer? Yes. They said this straight out. Yes. So now your policy doesn't matter because you never informed me of the policy, because what you should have said is, okay, sir, our policy is that we can't accept a key. You're going to want to call Enterprise and get further instructions, or maybe wait for them to come pick up the vehicle while you're here before you leave. Right? That would make sense. You would tell your agents if this is a policy that's been in place. And he goes, so then they called us back and said, oh, we do have security footage. And we had relayed that we were aware the car was in a particular location based on information you gave us. They said, oh, yes, one of our staff members went out to the car, got in the car, and moved the car to a different part of our lot. And then left the keys in the car and came back to work. So after I gave them the keys, Tesla got in the frickin' car and moved it, and then left the keys in the damn thing. And then their security footage shows someone just walk off the street, get in the car, and drive it off. Now, I don't know about you. It's where I started feeling like I'm taking crazy pills. But immediately my brain went, so what member of your staff called someone they know, said, hey, there's this SUV sitting here with keys in it. It's a rental, and we're not supposed to have rentals on the property. Tesla will deny everything. Come pick it up. I immediately think the worst, right? Especially when you're like, well, our loss and prevention team is currently investigating, and we will submit everything to the police once our investigation is completed. This sounds like you even suspect that one of your employees did something. What the absolute F? Now, here's where it goes extra haywire. So I'm talking with the area manager, and he's like, hey, I just need Tesla to admit faults. Because right now they're being really cagey. It sounds like they were doing the same thing on a call with you. But the second they admit fault, you get to just walk away. And you should be able to walk away. I shouldn't have to be talking to you. This shouldn't be any of your fault. You did everything perfect. I'm really sorry this is happening to you. Just know I'm on your side. I'm trying to get this resolved and taken care of, because it should not be on you. It should not be on your insurance. None of this is your fault. And he went, okay, thank you, sir. He's a very nice guy. Very, very nice. Said, and I told him, I was like, well, hey, I know the manager who reviewed all the security footage is there right now, and they close in about 45 minutes. His name is Mr. Brown. I would get on the phone and just barrage him until they put that guy on the phone. Because the area manager does live here, but he lives too far away to actually drive there and do this. So he goes, hey, thank you so much. It's getting kind of late. I probably won't call you back today, but I definitely will call you Monday morning. I said, okay, thank you very much. Try to have a great weekend, sir. I really appreciate you, just giving me the information you have. I'm going to call my insurance company and tell them. And he goes, absolutely, totally understand. Feel free to give them my phone number and my name. If they have any questions, they can directly call me, and I'll work with them as well. Because your insurance company, their legal team isn't going to let any BS like this fly. They'll be all over Tesla if Tesla keeps trying to fight this. Weekend happens. I try to forget everything and just chill. That, of course, does not happen. It's like lingering on my brain because I totally don't need this BS. Monday, I get a phone call. Area manager calls me at I think 11:30 or so. Was, hi Bentley, this is blah from Enterprise. I hope you had a good weekend. I've got some good news for you. We found the car. And immediately I feel like 10 tons have just removed from my shoulders, because now I know it's not on my butt at all. Even though it's not on my butt in the first place, that's still going to linger on you, right? He goes, okay, get this. And tells me this story. This is the real icing on the cake. After all this bullshit, right? Tesla, when they receive used vehicles that are not other Teslas, has a third-party service come pick those cars up and auction them for them. Because Tesla doesn't do used vehicles that are non-Teslas. And since they do this regularly, they have an area in their lot where they put these cars. And apparently, one of the service people who screwed up, and there was no Enterprise rental tag on the key fob for this vehicle, thought that this was a trade-in vehicle and moved it over to that lot. And earlier, in the late Friday or something, I guess, this is when they come to pick up any vehicles, and they were scheduled for a pickup to pick up some other cars. And so since the rental was just sitting there with keys in it, they assumed this was a trade-in with its Maryland license plates and put it on the truck and took it 2.5 hours north to this lot to get ready for sale. And by the time all of this BS had happened, they had it on their local lot for sale. By the time Enterprise and Tesla tracked the vehicle down, so they have no paperwork, but they're still trying to sell this damn thing. Can you believe the incompetency of this nonsense? I was flabbergasted. First, getting told like on a Friday, oh, hey, your rental, that's still technically your fault, even though we're idiots. Yeah, it's been stolen. Like, how the hell does it get stolen? How the hell does it get stolen? They had the keys in a lockbox in the building. How does it get stolen? Like, what do you mean you can't report it to police? You own the damn vehicle. That was my weekend. That was my Thursday, my Friday, and yesterday. All that BS. Good God. Oh my Lord. So in the future, if you ever rent a vehicle, my advice to you is don't leave it anywhere. Force the rental company to drive you wherever it needs to be, because holy normally I don't swear. Man, this is worthy of it. I was stunned after all this, and it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, Leslie, you have it so perfect. Nobody does their frickin' job anymore, is the way that feels, right? And parts of it do sound very shady. Yeah, I would have said just talk to my lawyer from the get. Sure. I understand that, but there is a part where from a perspective of just trying to get things done, and I don't like, as Engender is saying, everybody just wants to pass the buck. I'm not a person that likes to pass the buck. I like to just get things resolved. Like part of my life is being a problem solver, right? So there was part of me that was just like, I need to fix this problem now. And especially before it's like, I start getting demand letters in the mail that's like, you owe us this much money, or blah, blah, blah. You know, all this kind of BS that I totally don't need. Cause you know, I'm just trying to get through life right now. So yeah, fun times. So that being said, we can talk fish now. I'm done. Rant over. Complete. Chat the easiest way. Of course, if you have questions, comments, at Bentley Pasco makes it the easiest for me to see stuff. Johnny Best, they must have been smoking something really good. Well, it is Washington. We were us in Denver for the first, or Colorado, and not just Denver, but mostly Denver. We're the first two ones to legalize the old wacky tobacco in the United States. So we got some stuff. Let me tell you. Garage Gills, how's the job search going? I had some bad news this week, but also, and parts of last week, but also good news in a sense. I'm getting barraged by a lot of recruiters right now, which is great. It means there are lots of roles in my profession. I had this really long talk trying to get me to work for Kuiper, which if you're not familiar with Kuiper, that's Amazon's, it's owned by Amazon, but it is not a direct to Amazon company, if that makes sense. It's like a side company that's parent company is Amazon, kind of like how Twitch technically works separate from Amazon, even though Amazon owns Twitch. They're building satellites, so like the things that we put up in space, right? And they were trying to get what they call a systems engineer, which really was like a hardware and software mixed quality assurance engineer, which I've done both of these things. Actually could have probably been a really good fit, but it's while a factory is being built and there's no like stations, and just my being a big guy and having done a number of leg injuries to one leg, just one leg, my right knee is a cluster. It can't handle me like standing all day, every day. I can't, my body can't do that. And I would have had to have done that for that position. So it was one of those things where I was sitting there talking for like an hour and a half with this guy, and then we kind of went off and asked some other questions. And, you know, we talked a bit, and he was like, hey, you know, please add me on LinkedIn. And I'm gonna keep in touch with you because I just really like talking to you. I think your skill set's phenomenal. There's a good chance that in a month from now, Kuiper might have a better situation where they would have like literally a desk for you to work at, because I think your skill set would be amazing there. And the hiring manager specifically had looked at your resume and said, I really want to talk to this guy, but I know the state of everything that's going on right now, and you would be on your feet all day. So it's like, that's unfortunate. But, that's kind of the bad news. There was another role that I was in the running for that they just picked a different candidate, and that's fine. It would have been to work with the NFL, which would have been freaking amazing, because you guys know that football is like my religion for part of the year. But that's just part of life. So some bad news, but some good news. I've been getting lots of calls, a number of different roles, all trying to hunt people down. Worked with a couple people that I have worked with in the past, as far as like recruiters are concerned, that I generally trust, and got submitted on some roles and just waiting to get scheduled for, I think it's 3 or 4 different interviews at this point. So positive slanted, but yeah, I don't know. I just have to look at things as positively as I want. It's one of those things. Okay. Other questions outside of the work hunt thing. Well, I missed something. It was up here a minute ago. Talking about some camping stuff. Oh my lord. Bears and stuff. Leo209, what do you think about wild bettas? Looking at the Appy from Moonlight. So, I'm not... Which one's that? I'm not familiar with the Appy specifically. I just have to look at it to remind myself. Oh yeah, they're very red, kind of like a macrostomas. Or the betta rubra, the strawberry betta. So a lot of the wild type bettas can live in small colonies together, which is really cool. It's not like bettas, the splendens, the typical ones where you can only have one male in the tank. The mouth breeding bettas tend to live in colonies, which is really cool. Now, if you're trying to really hardcore breed them, you don't necessarily want them in colonies, but you can let them live in colonies. So like, I like the betta mahachiensis, which my friend Alyssa Bentley breeds, and they're really cool. Brother-in-law James has actually thought about either a betta sorority, because I'm giving him a 20 long. It's my tank that's over there. We've been focused on some other projects. And he was thinking about either a small betta sorority of like beta splendens, or potentially doing some mahachiensis, but I told him like, hey, I need to find out whether or not a 20 long is going to be sufficient. I think it should be for a small group, but I like a lot of the wild bettas, honestly, more than most of your like designer bettas, because I have noticed more and more, and maybe this is the crotchety old man in me, but more and more I tend to slowly move away from design species and more into natural species, because I get to see behaviors that are different. And I get to see something that my friend Jason, who is the owner of Redfish Bluefish, he loves to refer to fish as living jewels. And there is something more inherently desirable about natural fish to me than some of our line bred stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, things like guppies and stuff like that, where we've been line breeding a billion vajillion of them forever. Yeah, I'm not going to go like angry about those ones, but I really have a big appreciation for wild and natural fish. I think that's part of why I love rainbow fish so much, is because I get so much variety of color, and they're all natural fish. And yeah, the Appy look really cool. Apparently, Alyssa, who's in chat, wants some. So you're probably looking at a great fish, because if she wants some, it's probably a good start. Probably a good start. She's got good taste in fish. Johnny Best, what is man's best friend doing right now? She is flopped at my feet, kind of harumphing. Oh, let me give you an update on her. So we mentioned that she had an issue where she scratched her corneas, right? and we were doing some antibiotic drops and things like that to get it heal. We went to the vet Thursday, and they hadn't appeared to heal any more than they had previously, which had my vet a little worried because by now it should have fully healed. She understands that, like, I'm in a job search right now, and so my budget's a little tight. And she said, hey, let me take a bunch of pictures and send them to this ophthalmologist, eye doctor, and try and get him to help me without you having to go in for a physical consultation. Thank you so much. Our vet is amazing. She's wonderful. If you happen to be in the South Sound area and they're taking patients, which I don't think they're taking anyone new right now, but Pine Tree Vet in Maple Valley, Dr. LaFay, who's there, she's amazing. And she's an absolute delight to work with as a vet. But so she got back some information, and there's kind of a like false negative that can happen with this other condition that can make, because they put this like stain. It looks like Mountain Dew in its color in the eye, and then they turn the lights off and shine a blue light, and if they see it pooling anywhere, that's where they know some level of ulceration has occurred, which is the technical term, and that it needs to heal. But this other condition, and I can't remember what it's called, because it's got a very long name. It's like 3 really long scientific words, and I'm not that smart. But it can cause this like rough surface to occur on the eyes. It's fixable. That can give you a false reading in those stain tests. And after looking at a bunch of the pictures that they took really close of my dog's eyes, this ophthalmologist was like, hey, here's what I actually think is going on. There's a couple of routes to take without having to do a consultation and some labs and all that kind of stuff. So we got this like steroid and antibiotic eye drop and a oral antibiotic that will help put the antibiotic like literally into her tears, so that as she's forming her tears on her eyes, it's naturally forming the antibiotic, trying to help the wounds, whatever damage is done, be healed. But we're pretty hopeful on that, because maybe that's the easy route. I have another checkup in about a week to see how those combinations of things will affect and hopefully fix her eyes. But for right now, she's still being kind of a harumph because she hates being in the cone of shame. She absolutely hates having that cone on her head, but we have to make sure she doesn't scratch her eyes any further. So fun times. Fun times. Thank you for asking me about my dog. I really appreciate it. Johnny Best, really appreciate the $2 super chat, my guy. No context, but if you got another question, I'll see it in a minute, I'm sure. And then Leslie Perry, I've never seen a giant betta in person. How do you get them, and what's the minimum tank size requirement? So giant bettas, not to be confused with giant gouramis, but giant bettas are basically a larger version of betta splendens, and they're, at least in my recollection, it's been a while, about 50% to double, depending on the specimen, the size of a standard like veil-tail betta that you would get in a normal aquarium store. So in general, my understanding of them, and let me confirm, we can use Google, right? It's our friend. But my recollection for those in the past was that you can typically keep them in something like a 20 long, just because they're a big solo fish, but they're not crazy active. That's not what I'm looking to buy one. I'm looking to see how big they get. Apparently they can get upwards of 7 inches. My lord, really? Can they get that big? Huh. I don't remember them being quite that large, but that's impressive. So anywhere between 3 and 7 inches, according to the Googles. So take that with whatever grains of salt you want. But I would say probably if you're keeping like a solo giant betta male, you could probably be okay with a 20 long, maybe a 40 breeder. 40 breeder might be more perfect if you want to just make sure you have plenty of space in case that fish does get to that big size. But they're not crazy active, right? You know, we're still talking about a betta. They're gonna zip around the tank a little bit, but they're not going to be like a rainbow fish where they need a ton of swim space. You're going to start having to look at like 125 gallon or something crazy like that. If you really, really wanted to give them a very nice set of room, you would look at something like a 75 or a 90 gallon, something that's like a 4-foot tank. You could probably do a 55 if you don't want to go quite as deep front to back. Maybe it's just something you can buy more easily than like a 75. But when you're talking a 4-foot tank, at that point, it almost is worth doing the 75 to get the extra oomph front to back, because if you want to play around and fit other species in there, it just gives you more room to play with. But yeah, that'd be my thoughts. I've never kept them in person. I've seen a few, but I don't remember them ever getting bigger than most of my rainbow fish. So, the fact that they say 7 inches, I wonder if that includes finnage. And then at that case, it would make a little more sense. But yeah, hope that helps, Leslie. There's got to be someone on YouTube who has done giant bettas and has more information that can give you better details than me. Let's be honest. But yeah, I would check that out. I would do a hunt on the YouTubes. In fact, let us do a hunt right now. Giant betta fish. Oh, I might be thinking king for some of the smaller ones. So Simply Betta unboxed a giant betta 4 years ago. KG Tropicals did something for a king or giant betta aquarium. Primetime got a king betta, and it was apparently quite large. So there you go. There's a number of videos on them out there that might help. Literally looking in giant betta fish in the old YouTubes, 3 videos right off the kick. All from creators I know and occasionally trust. I'm kidding. Of those videos, which one would I watch immediately? Probably Primetime Aquatics, just because I really like Jason a lot. But I also like Taylor from Simply Betta, so, and she's got more betta experience, so maybe that's actually the better one to watch first. I mean, her channel is called Simply Betta, right? Right? Leo209, it's either those or getting mouth-brooding wild bettas. Are the Api not a mouth-brooder? They look like a lot of the mouth-brooding ones. That's why I ask. But there's a lot of mouth-brooding ones. They're all really cool. I mean, even just like the strawberry betta, the betta rubra, which is a mouth-brooder and is fairly common, they're great fish. You just don't see them at that like optimal color as often, because it's typically only when they're in their courting and breeding seasons. When they're trying to pull that stuff off and entice their females. That's when the boys look their best. But that's a lot of wild bettas. Although I will say, anytime I've seen Alyssa's Mahachiensis, they've always looked amazing. So maybe they're just better because they're blue. It's my bias. I love blue fish, man. I love the blue fish. All right, I'm gonna make sure I didn't miss anything. Again, if I miss your guys' question, like, just repost it. Don't be afraid. I don't have any spam bots or anything that are going to get you. Nat Stewart, I'm not 100% certain what your field is, but it sounds like the computer science. I work in automation, and that's been exciting and growing field. Have you ever considered PLCs? So, okay, let me answer that more directly. I'm a quality assurance engineer, so I do software test mostly. I've done some hardware tests, but mostly software test. And I have a bigger focus on manual test work, but a lot of that is because I've done a lot of like wearable tech in the last few years, or have been very early on projects when automation's not in place, and you kind of have this constant shifting environment where manual becomes really effective to inform where the good places are to start automation. So I've worked hand in hand with a lot of automation engineers in the past. I know some code. I'm just not. I'm not super good at code. I've been teaching myself an automation tool recently, though, in looking at a couple of other jobs that use it. So I hope from a technical perspective, you understand what I'm talking about. Have I considered an PLC? Not really. So for those who don't know, that's a programmable logic controller. So this would be like, the easiest way to think about it is, for us in the fish world, the Apex controller in an Apex system would be a programmable logic controller. Not technically correct, but just think of it that way, right? It's the thing that's controlling a lot of logic. These are used in a lot more industrial settings very often. So like I met someone who works in automation doing like industrial buildings. So like if you were to go to a massive apartment complexes that have businesses built in and they have all these subsystems of AC units and all these other things, they're controlled by these massive electrical automation systems nowadays for any of the new buildings that are built. And I met someone who was the head architect and engineer for this really big building project in a city near called Bellevue, called the Braver. And she's just super cool. We actually adopted a couple fish because she's moving from her. And very, very nice gal, which if you're watching, hi. But we adopted a couple dojo loaches of hers to go with our dojo loach tank. So there's some extra dojos hanging around. Yeah. We have Rocket, and he's had multiple names, but right now his current name is Woody. Because kind of like as in Woody Woodpecker, because he was kind of a he's the one that when you put your arm in the tank, he's going to be pecking at your arm a ton. So at first she called him Peckerhead. But he and Her Thickness, which is the name of our female kind of albino loach that we have, they have been noodling together quite a bit, as we like to call it, which is just hanging out, being social, doing dojo loach things, where the smaller boy, Rocket, is just like zipping all over the tank, having a blast, exploring. You know, he's in a longer tank, so he's got more room to swim around, and he's like investigating all these other fish, like the rainbows and some of the SAEs and stuff like that. It's been very fun to watch the new fish settle in into Retirement Tank 2, as I'm started calling it, because it's not really focused on anything right now. In the near future, it might be, though. We might make some big changes to that tank. Still, we'll keep the same fish, but like kind of rescape it from the ground up and revivify it. Add something. I don't know what you want to call it, but give it a little extra oomph. But yeah, I haven't really looked into PLCs directly, just because I don't do tons of automation. Can I do it? Yes, if I had to. Do I prefer to do it? Not necessarily. I like being, nowadays, I tend to be in more leadership positions, a lot of test planning, test strategy, and not so much as hands-on everything. But I'm trying to work toward more like quality assurance manager type roles, where I'm running really large teams, and you're usually not like hands-on as much in that. But it helps to know things so that when you're talking to, say, like an automation engineer like yourself, I'm not going, what's that? Right? Understanding what's going on and keeping a track and using my knowledge and experience. I've been in the industry for a little over 13 years at this point to help inform decisions, answer questions, arm people with the tools and things they need to be the rock stars they are. That's what I tend to do best. But that being said, I like getting my hands on devices too. So who knows what will be next in my life. Matt M. One of the reasons I don't like glowfish, nature makes amazing fish already. Yeah, I mean, you know, glowfish are really good. I will say this. I will give this use case for why glowfish are great. Glowfish are good for getting young kids into the hobby because they're something that kids immediately look at and pay attention to, right? These wild colors, especially if you're using a black light or blue light to make it pop more and kind of that iridescence, the glow occur. It gets attention of small children really, really well. And it's a good vehicle to get young kids interested in fish and then slowly, I don't want to say convert them, but maybe that's the right word, convert them over to a lot of our more natural fish and understanding why those natural beauties are so cool and so important, because you can inform them with extra science, or maybe you got a kid who likes history and you take them to like watch Fishtory, right? Because Alex has tons of awesome information, or you want to look at like more sciencey type stuff, whatever that may be, right? I think that's where they're great for getting youngsters into the hobby. So if you have kids and maybe they don't like looking at your silverfish, you know, because they're like, oh, look at all the baby fish that are here. Look at all these rainbow fish. Like, oh, Dad, they have no color. That's boring, right? For rainbow fish as an example. It's like, oh, no, but they get bigger. They look really cool. Yeah. Well, glowfish always has color, so they're always going to be interesting, right? It's one of those things. And maybe you've got kids that they don't understand fish, or maybe they don't find appeal, but you show them glowfish and that might get them interested. So there is a use case to where glowfish are interesting. And they also bring a lot of people, even non-kids, like adults, into the hobby who otherwise might not look at fish. And I think that's fine, right? Is it perfect? No. But they have a purpose. Regina, one of my Cocker Spaniel, just calm down. Had horrible eye problems after months of antibiotics and other treatments. I switched her food and she's been 100%. Yeah, we think there might be some. So this year, allergens in the air have been really bad in our area. And they've been, apparently lots of people have been having allergy issues with their dogs that normally would not have as severe of reactions, according to our vets. And so they think it's partially because both our girls have some allergies. So they're on like special diets and stuff like that. And they do take some allergy medications. I swear I probably give my dogs better things than I give myself at this point. But they think there's a potential that just because she had been itching a lot and kind of pawing at her face and could have potentially scratched herself on accident, and thus caused the ulceration in her eye. But basically they think that it could be a combination of just the allergy season being way worse and affecting the dogs, and just kind of an unfortunate circumstance of events. But she's getting a lot better. Her eyes look way better than they did like 3 weeks ago. So generally positive with the pupper, but whew, Lord. Garage Gills, we had something very similar with our old dog. Vet did drops, but also a series of microabrasions / cuts in a grid pattern on the eye. The ulcer healed great after that. Yeah, so that would be most likely the procedure that we would have to have done if these other drops don't do the trick, is they go in and they scratch these tiny abrasive scratches basically in a grid pattern over the area, and that triggers the eye to go, oh no, we need to heal, and helps heal that entire area, so that if it isn't fully healing the spot, it will then trigger further healing and heal that portion of the thing. It's just a matter of like, that procedure is not exactly cheap, even just like the running the labs to verify that's the actual solution, plus the consultation with the particular specialist that does that. I'd be looking at like $600 before they even do the procedure. So we're trying to weasel it in with a set of like $20 drops and one more checkup with our doc that's like $75 instead of, so trying to help me out, trying to do what we can to also minimize the problems. Leo, no, they're bubble nesters. Oh, okay, the Oppies are bubble nesters. Interesting. Johnny Best, what's the status with the undergravel tank set? Maybe you should try Fluval Stratum, no filter setup. Oh, so kind of funny. You're talking about what is kind of the topic for this week's video. Spoiler alert, I'll tell you guys in chat. We're going to do a video. I was looking at, if you go to like Google, or YouTube Studio from a creator perspective, they have this part that's called inspiration, where they'll try to give you ideas for videos. And basically they have something that's the most searched terms on YouTube. And one of the absolute most searched terms, it's like the second most searched one, is, do I need a filter for my aquarium? And I know I've kind of talked about that indirectly a few times, but I want to like directly do a video on that topic, because I feel like depending on who's doing the video, they answer it one way or another, and it's not necessarily the right or the entirety of the answer. Let me not the right answer, but it's not the entirety of the answer, right? And I'm sure most of you in chat will immediately know the answer is both yes and no, right? It depends on how you look at things, but I think it'll be an interesting topic. It's a good discussion piece, and that's going to be this week's video. But as far as an update, so testing has been going quite a lot better. I'm actually seeing ammonia drop naturally. So that means that we're getting some aerobic bacteria. We haven't quite created nitrites or nitrates yet. But what I did notice is that my KH dropped kind of significantly in a week. So it would seem that the safety orb still has some capacity to absorb things from the water column. So I have to kind of rebuffer my rebuffer my dang water again because it's soaked up a ton of the KH to help make sure that we're where we need to be. And in letting the filter gravy in and not having a really like hyper polishing filter, I've kind of created a big like bacterial haze outbreak in the tank. So it looks hazy and it doesn't look great, but it's doing its job, which is more important. We're getting an actual initial bacterial colony going in there. I might cheat for a couple days with like a powered filter just to polish the water a little because it looks abysmal. But yeah, if I do, you guys will get an update about that. Don't worry. It's going. It's starting to do things. Probably not the things we want, but things. Leslie Perry, I bought my dog Skeeter one of those soft donut type collars. She didn't mind at all. So I have a similar type collar that is basically a wrap that kind of prevents them from being able to twist their heads. And that's great for trying to prevent like licking a wound or something. But because it's something where she's been pawing at her face, I have to put her in the cone to prevent her from pawing and potentially re-scratching her eye. Believe me, that was the first thing I thought about because my dog much preferred that after her hip surgery last year. My dog is really good at knowing right when I've lost a job and then injuring herself immediately thereafter. Or at least that's been our joke with my dear puppy, but she's a sweet girl and I love her dearly. So no matter what she does, I'll just keep doing whatever I got to do to give her the best life I can because I love this doggo. She's a silly girl, but I love her to death. Yeah. So there's that. Neo Veritas, gonna set up a 75 with my pond for my pond fish. Will it cycle in time, just aqua soil and plants over a few months? Absolutely. Yeah. Just keep in mind that like, especially if you have plants that have been in a water system somewhere, they're going to have beneficial bacteria naturally on their surfaces. And then that beneficial bacteria can spread everywhere as long as there is a food source to build up that beneficial bacteria colony and propagate like an entire filter worth. So in the case of having like aqua soil and plants, just put some fish food in there. Put a little fish food in there, like the same amount you think you would feed your fish every other day, right? Maybe not that much to start, but like work your way up and that'll build a bacterial colony, deal with some of that waste, still do your water changes and all those kind of things like you naturally would. And then when you bring your pond fish in, you've kind of naturally been feeding the same amount of food and causing the same amount of waste. So the bacterial colony will be ready and you won't have this sudden burst of waste occurring that causes a new like spike or some other problem. I hope that all makes sense. If not, shoot me an email and I'll help you out. Oh, lots of discussion about dogs. Interesting. Notice in my 75-gallon, my Pandagara stir the strata more now that they are bigger. So the mulm going in the water shouldn't cause issues with water quality, right? Pretty unlikely. So mulm, when it is settled, for the most part, is already in the process of breaking down. So if it gets disturbed and kicked up, it's probably just going to get sucked up by your filter or what have you. The likelihood of that causing big problems, it would be a bigger problem if they were really digging deep, right? And then launching a ton of stuff into the water column to where like your water was turning brown and almost like silty in a way, right? That would be where I'd be more concerned. But if they're just kicking up a little bit of stuff here and there, don't stress at all about that. That's it. Stephen P., the answer is you have a filter even if it's not powered. That's relatively accurate. But I think we can go a little more in depth on that kind of discussion and have some fun. Right? Paul Soltero, if you have plants and hardscape in your tank, you have a passive filter. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. But, you will have those people whether it's a brand new or whatever, they'll be like, oh, well, then I don't need a water flow, or I don't need an air stone. And it's like, no, you still need those things. They'll still matter, and we'll explain why, right? Those kind of stuff. Empire of Dirt Aquatics. Glowfish are good for people who enjoy them. If it keeps or gets people into the hobby that otherwise wouldn't, it's good overall. And that's where I agree. I personally am not a fan of keeping glowfish. That's a personal thing. But I keep rainbow fish. I keep big dumb idiots with lots of color. I don't really need to go searching for other color in fish. However, I think I've told the story before. A long time ago, when the retirement tank was a display tank, I had adopted 3 fish that were rainbows and 3 other fish. One big kind of marble gold rainbow, or not rainbow, marble gold angelfish. I can English. And 2 white skirt tetra glowfish. One was purple, one was pink. Stuck out like a sore thumb in the tank they were in. But I didn't care, right? My kid brother, he's not a kid anymore, but he's 11 years younger than me. He's always going to be my kid brother to me. My kid brother comes over with his kids and his fiance, and the first thing he notices is the glowfish. And he goes, "Oh, dude, what is that? That's so cool." That's my kid brother immediately paying attention to fish, when otherwise he's just kind of like, "Oh yeah, my kids like it, so, and my brother's into it, whatever." Right? But he saw it and went, "What the heck is that?" It got his attention and got him to ask questions and got him to be curious. And that's where I would say glowfish are perfect. They're perfect for the industry because they cause those kind of reactions. What the heck is that? And they get people to be inquisitive and to ask questions. And all of a sudden, those couple of questions might have someone totally get into a hobby that otherwise weren't there. Now, my kid brother likes betta fish. That's what he's into. But he doesn't keep them because he has large dogs. And those dogs and his small children who like to get their hands on everything. But, it's what you do. It's what you do. Make sure I didn't miss one question real fast, but otherwise we are at the end. A quick, brief glance here. I think I got everything. Oh, Leo209, last question. Have you been to Moonlight Aquatics recently? No, I should be going out there relatively soon, though. I need to call the owner, because we're supposed to do a video with him, and it's been about the right amount of time since last I talked to him, to when he was like, "Hey, I want about this much time. I'm trying to get some certain things prepped, and I'd like to have them ready for when you come in and film." So it's been about that much time. It's time for me to kind of get in touch with Chang and see if he's ready for me or not. But yeah, I haven't been in month and a half, 2 months. Last time I was there, he had spotted Congo puffers, though. He also had a couple of other really interesting crabs, and he'd got a bunch of rainbows that came in from another local that I know. So I went there and hurriedly adopted some rainbows for myself because, yeah, they're fish I like. What do you do? What do you do? All right, gang. What's my best way to remove mulm naturally? I just let it settle in my substrate and let it get processed and turn into constant nutrients for my rooted plants. So crypts are my way to get rid of it naturally, because eventually it becomes, effectively speaking, inert. And then the plants just take care of it. You don't have to worry about it from a perspective of being potentially dangerous to fish anymore. But I don't have fish that really dig in substrate a lot. So there's that, right? Anyway, gang, I want to thank you for being here again this week. Yeah, so I had more crypts. Got it. Yeah, basically that's correct. More crypts, or just 2 big swords. So yeah, gang, I want to thank you all for hanging out, letting me vent a little about my enjoying experience with a rental car. As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome. It's going to be the death of me someday. It's going to be the death of me.